That's a life of a fisherman you wouldn't understand. Something you can't feel on dry land. Gotta get your arms way up in a cage and set the hook on smallmouth bass, and then you'll understand. Gotta get your hands on a Shimano reel and a G-Loom that's trying to bet you like what you feel. Step on the deck, give it the world. Hello, welcome to my world.
What's going on, all you Facebook Live and YouTube Live fishing freaks? Boy, do we have a lot to talk about this evening. JR and Jared finished 25th of the Casting for Kids this weekend. We'll talk about that. And we're going to give you guys a rundown of the trip.
I'm always waiting for it to come on top so I can share it out, but it never does right when I want it to, you know? It will.
Yep. So, JR, run us through your tournament this past weekend, and I'll get into the trip stuff, and then got some recommendations for you guys if you guys are interested in the places we went. We'll talk about that in just a second.
Well, Casting for Kids was awesome, ran really well, as always. Chris Ferguson and his crew did a great job, and raised a bunch of money again for Shriners Hospital and the kids. And day one, we were at Yatesville, and as always, 161 boats, or that many boats and that much pressure, makes Yatesville really tough. So Jared and I kind of got to the day two by the skin of our teeth with a lot of super finessey things and tactics, and thankfully we were able to make it to day two, which was a blast. Day two, we didn't really know what we were doing because we hadn't fished Paintsville, but basically we went out and tried to catch as many in the type of environment we had, and Paintsville is a super deep lake, if you've ever fished it, and lots of wood, lots of just wooded hollers, and it's a really beautiful lake. It reminds me a lot of Grayson, honestly, except it's way deeper than Grayson. A lot of rock ledges and lots of standing timber, and we ended up probably catching 20 keepers on that day, but unfortunately they literally were all the same size. They were all like 1.5 pounds. So congrats to the guys that got first. They put together like 19 pounds, and me and Jared had like 8. So they obviously knew something we didn't. But
good
it was a great time.
Evening, Tony. I am sad to say I will not be making the trip with JR down to the Tennessee tournament. However, he will be there. Tony, I will, I encourage you to reach out to JR here, or actually I'll have him reach out to you because due to anonymity sake, he has his Facebook kind of anonymous for some backstory reasons, but I'll have him reach out to you. That way, when you get down there, maybe you guys can meet up or definitely see each other during the tournament and stuff. So I think it's going to be a really good deal. Yeah, Gary, that was a crazy deal. We'll talk about that in just a second. The trip was pretty amazing. What's up, Tyler? There was a lot of stuff that went down. Let's see. Sweet, Charlie's going down too. Charlie, JR will be there, and Tony will be there. Again, I will not be there. I just have too much stuff going on because of the trip. And if we think about the trip, how it went, those of you guys, I'm sure you guys have followed and probably tired of me talking about it, but I've been planning this trip for a better part of 3 years. Dusty and I were supposed to just go to Lake Fork and fish a week. And then my dad got sick and ended up passing away 3 years ago. And, just life has happened and everything's been crazy, and I finally got the opportunity this year to plan the trip. And I wanted to go, so I have a goal to catch a bass in all 50 states in the United States, and I've pretty much checked off a lot of different things in the eastern side of the United States. So one of the things that I needed to do is move west. So this trip, we went to Bull Shoals to check off Arkansas, Missouri. We then went to 10 Killer in Oklahoma to check off Oklahoma. Went to Lake Fork and fished there 3.5 days, and then left there and went to Caney Creek in Louisiana. And I would go back to any of the lakes again. Southern Lakes, Fork, and Caney Creek. Fork fish were like all different areas of the spawn. We had pre-spawn, we had people, fish that were on the beds, spawning, and then we had some post-spawn fish. Dusty, you guys will be seeing it here in a couple weeks. I haven't decided how I'm going to release these videos yet. Misty and I were talking about it at dinner. I have 10 different videos from this trip that's going to be released. I hate to do it weekly because it's going to be 10 weeks before you guys see the full episodes of all of them, but we just kind of, I don't want to release them all at once either because the views will be terrible. But with that being said, we drove through the night into Bull Shoals and stayed at this place called Highway 154 campground. There was a fellow there that was like the campground aficionado, if you will. He was like the guy running the campground. I can't say enough good about the whole trip. We had phenomenal service the whole time. But on our way down there, this fella calls us. He's like, "Hey man," he's like, "this is blah 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 from this this Highway 154 park. I just wanted to let you know that the campsite that you've chosen is not really good. It's not conducive for tent camping. It's out in the open. There's no trees for shade. I'd like to move you up farther into the boat ramp or up into the campground just so you could have a little better amenities," which I thought was amazing. However, I told him that the reason I chose that particular spot is that it was really close to the boat ramp, and I could just back my boat from our campsite down into the boat ramp because we were going to be sleeping in a truck bed tent. He understood that. We got there, everything worked fine. He stopped by the second night we were there and, had a conversation with us. He's like, I see what you got going on here. I just wanted to take care of you, make sure you guys had a great experience because I saw you guys were driving from Ohio. So I thought that was amazing. We had that night, we drove through the night, got there about 1:30 Central Time, got the tent all set up, slept for about probably 3 hours. 6 o'clock rolls around, 5 o'clock rolls around, whatever. Birds are chirping. We're like, screw it, we're going fishing. So we back the boat down into Bull Shoals. Bull Shoals is up in the bushes, feet high. The boat ramp that we were supposed to use was no longer a boat ramp. It was the lake. We were backing down the bank of just a road going to where the boat ramp should be to back the boat into the water. Pretty crazy, but we ended up, the goal was to catch a bass in all these states. So we just started fishing behind the marina in this really it wasn't wooded, but it was like bushes and things. Bull Shoals is a really cool lake. Again, I'd go back to all the lakes, but when we first get there, throwing spinner baits, buzz baits, topwater stuff, water temperature is 65, 68 degrees, sometimes 70. I was like, they got to be able to hit a topwater bait. Couldn't get them to sniff it. So I picked up my flipping rig, which is an 894 CJWR IMX or InterX Plus, and I started throwing a black and blue missile D-bomb. And about the 8th cast of the morning, I set the hook on almost a 5-pound bass. The very first bass we catch on the trip is close to a 5-pounder, which you can't script it any better than that. So that was a great thing. So we ended up camping there that night, just for the simple fact we drove in super late. We caught a bass in both states, Dusty and I. Wind was ripping. Absolutely gassing on that day. So it was really tough, really finessey. Ended up catching my fish and Dusty's fish. I was throwing a Nico rig. Dusty was throwing a wacky rig. allowed us to catch those fish in Missouri. We went back, cooked a bunch of food, man. We had some awesome T-bone steaks that I packed with us from White's Meat Market in Ashland, Kentucky. No affiliation, guys. They don't sponsor us. I wish they would. But I go over there every week and I buy meat from them. White's Meat Market over in Ashland has some of the best meat on the planet. If you're in the area, go check them out. They're closed on Mondays, Sunday, Monday, but they have awesome meat. You can get anything you want over there, pork, beef, what have you. But anyway, I bought this little cheap smoker grill that you guys will see on the video series. It's called Hello Doctor. It's like $200 on Amazon, worth every penny. If you guys look for something to pack around with you, it's an amazing pellet smoker. I would definitely recommend it. But we're fixing food and stuff, and my stepbrother is actually a kind of like a representative for this company called Hunt Chef. They make seasonings and salsas and things, and their motto is cook what you kill, and it's all about, they have fish seasonings and beef and boar and you name it. They got something that'll make what you kill taste great. So we took a bunch of seasonings with me there. Phenomenal taste, great stuff. Matter of fact, I'll recommend anything that I've ever had from there. It's awesome. But we ate, went to bed, got up the next morning at we were supposed to get up at 4 or 3:30 to drive to Lake Tenkiller, and Dusty wakes me up, and I was kind of in the, I don't know, like I wasn't in REM sleep. I was in like twilight mode. I could hear it, and then I heard thunder, and he's like, "Hey man, you think we should get up and pack our stuff up before this rain hits so everything's not soaked?" And I said, "Sure, man." It was only a half hour extra, less sleep. So we get out of the tent, the truck bed tent, and it kind of like the sky opens up. I mean, it is an absolute toad strangler, golly washer. It is absolutely coming down. I had my rain gear in the back of the truck, so I just threw my rain gear on and I packed up everything I could possibly get packed up in that time. And I told Dusty to go sit in the truck. There was no sense of us both getting drenched. So we drove from there, which is in Arkansas, close to Peel, Arkansas, 3.5 hours, almost due west. I went to Lake Tenkiller in Cookson, Oklahoma. Guys, there was a guy in our campground that said the night before we talked to him, and we was telling him what was going on, and we were telling him what lakes we were going to hit, and he said you'll enjoy Tenkiller. It's a fun lake. And Dusty and I bet we said that 20 times while we were fishing Tenkiller, because it is an absolute fun lake. We caught like 36 fish in one day, one of them being 4.5 pounds. Caught them on spinner baits, a Little John type R. Pretty much you can catch them any way you wanted to. The very first bass I caught, again, we went super finessey until we caught our bass, and we went trying to find bigger ones. So the very first bass I caught was on an eco rig around some rocks. Ended up finding some big spots and largemouth schooling behind this marina. Caught everything from white bass to largemouth, smallmouth, spotted bass, and a big giant freshwater drum in this schooling fish area, which was crazy. But we caught a lot of fish there. Went back to this campground that we stayed at called Snake Creek Campground. Campground was phenomenal. It was an awesome campground, really big, really wide open. There was hardly anybody there. I will tell you, if you're in that area, look for a different campground, just for the simple fact their showers were they were the worst ones of the trip. There was no cold water. It was just a press button for the shower to come on, and it was like, I'm talking so hot that it would if you stood on it long enough, it would blister you. It was crazy hot. It was miserable. But went back, got in the tent, sleeping for a while. Next morning was to drive to Lake Fork, and throughout the night we got caught in some torrential downpours, crazy severe lightning, crazy severe winds. The local weather station, Weather Channel, was predicting winds 65 plus miles an hour, and in a truck bed tent, turns out if you get 65 mile an hour winds, the truck bed lays flat. The truck bed tent lays flat on the truck bed, which was less than ideal. But we got up and we were dry-ish. I have to say that, the tent that I bought, which is like a Napier tent, I think, from Amazon, again, fairly cheap stuff, worked great. We get up, pack our stuff, and we head southwest to Lake Fork. Well, we get there, and as luck would have it, we pull into one of the boat ramps. By the way, there's 100 boat ramps on Lake Fork. Seems like every spot that you stop, there's a boat ramp. Wind was gassing, lightning, thunder, torrential downpours. So we sat in the parking lot for what seemed like 2 hours waiting for the storm to pass. Ends up like the wind's still gassing, but it stops raining, no lightning. So we back the boat in the water. Start throwing a spinnerbait in this cove because there's like 3 footers on Lake Fork, which is crazy. Lake Fork is not that big. I mean, as far as wide, but there's big breaking white caps on Lake Fork, and we're fishing where we can, and we end up catching 2 fish in the same cove on a spinnerbait. Dusty and I both do. And then I start looking for areas on the lake that we can get out of the wind, and I see this little cove on my Humminbird that goes way back in this cove area. And it shows on my Humminbird that there's grass and weeds in this cove. So we run around there, finally get to the point where the wind is blowing across this point and that cove is protected. Lake Fork, by the way, guys, if you ever choose to go to Lake Fork, first and foremost, do not put your boat in the lake unless you have a card, a GPS map card that has the boat lanes on it. And what I mean, you can absolutely die on Lake Fork. It is so crazy how nuts that the boat lanes are. If you get out of the boat lanes 8 feet, 10 feet in some areas, you're going to turn your trolling or your motor into a short shaft really quickly. There's stumps, trees, rocks, you name it. It is treacherous. But anyway, we're running these boat lanes out through there, and I find this cove, and we go back in there, and we start pitching into these grass and lily pads and stuff, and we catch like 6 bass in this cove. Really cool deal. We're freaking loving it. I'm catching them how I want to catch them. I'm throwing like I'm still pitching that D-bomb, I think, at this point, or a Cinco. We're pitching around this grass edges and catching fish, and eventually run out of water in that cove. So we start working our way around the lake, and there was a point right where that cove starts, and I saw some fish on the live scope. So I just spot locked there and was throwing at those fish. Well, Dusty throws a finesse worm, a cherry seed finesse worm that's Texas rigged on a 3/16 ounce worm weight up by this tree and sets the hook, dude. And when this fish comes out of the water, it was the biggest fish that I've ever laid eyes on ever. Like, no doubt about it. I've never been to a tournament and seen a bigger bass than this. It comes out of the water, and he and I both go crazy. I was like, dude, that's a double-digit bass, no doubt. So it works him all the way around the boat. It's like swimming by the boat. I run up there and net this fish. Turns out it's an 8.5 pounder, 8.8. And it's the biggest one Dusty's ever caught. The biggest bass that's ever been in my boat, no doubt. And it was an absolute monstrosity of a fish. Now, I want you to understand that this fish was spawned out. It was post-spawn and weighed 8.8. 3 weeks ago, this would have been 11, 12-pound fish. The mouth on this fish was this big. I'm not kidding you. I could have put both of my fists in its mouth, and it would never touch the outside of its mouth. Absolute giant fish. And I will sidebar here to say, if you're ever in in Texas, and you catch an 8-pound bass, do better than we did. Turns out, Texas ShareLunker is 8 pounds or bigger or 24 inches or longer. Well, you have to lay the fish down on a board, take a picture, and show that it's 24 inches longer, or have a picture of the bass on a scale showing how much it weighed, and then you could be entered into the Texas ShareLunker program. We didn't do any of that. None of that. Zero of it. So we have an 8.5 pound bass that Dusty has caught that he could have had an opportunity to win some money and prizes and stuff with, but we didn't get that opportunity. Met a fellow on Lake Fork. His name is Greg Hill. He owns and runs a guide service on Fork called FOB Lake Fork, Forward Operating Base Lake Fork. Guy is super into the military. He was actually in the military and worked for Boeing and a few other things after the fact. But now he has an Airbnb and a house right on Lake Fork. He guides, but you also can stay there with him in his Airbnb. I'll be showing that on episode 3 of the trip. You guys can see the Airbnb. It was a really nice place. It was it was a very super nice garage apartment we stayed in. And he was very accommodating. Told us where he was catching fish, told us what he was throwing. We didn't pay him for any of the guide service, but really nice guy. I'm hoping to have him on the show soon. So if you're interested in going to Fork, not packing your boat, you can fly out there, stay with him in his Airbnb, and have him take you fishing. His boat is right on the lake, and go out there and catch some fish. Lake Fork, after that 8.5 pounder, become very tough. There was one day that I caught 5 bass, and 4 of them were almost 5 pounds. So it was a great day there. You guys saw the first couple minutes of last week's live show. I ended up catching a 5.5 pounder like 2 minutes before the live show started. It was the biggest fish I caught all week. But we had a great time. And then last stop, we went to Caney Creek, Louisiana, which proved to be even tougher than Fork. Several things came from that trip to Caney Creek. One of them being that Dusty and I stayed at the nicest Airbnb that I've ever been in my entire life. I'll be showing the links and stuff to that thing on that episode. But Charlie and Linda, the folks that owned this Airbnb, were some of the nicest people I've ever met. They were super hospitable. They treated us like family the whole time we were there. Matter of fact, the very first night we got there, I'd never met Charlie before. Matter of fact, Aaron Strickland is the one that got me hooked up with that. So shout out to Aaron and Strix Marine Plus, because he really got me the hookup. We got this Airbnb that would sleep like 10 people, and it's just me and Dusty. But Charlie and Linda basically took us under their wing and turned us into a part of their extended family immediately. We were having a conversation the day that I met Charlie, that day we got there. And we were talking, and I said, he was talking about how, he used to own a crawfish restaurant. So that's awesome. I've ate a lot of crawfish in my lifetime, but I've never had crawfish etouffee, which, by the way, if you've never heard of etouffee or have never eaten it, it's almost like jambalaya or jambalaya, but with crawfish in it, kind of spicy, has rice in it. And he was like, "You've never had crawfish etouffee?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, my wife makes some of the best on the planet. We're going to hook you guys up one night for dinner." So fast forward until Saturday night, we're leaving Sunday morning. Him and his wife, Linda, open up their house to us, cooked this big giant, like 5-course meal for us. He had a couple of his buddies that live close over. Charlie knows Tim McGraw, the country singer, which is wild. The dude knows everybody. The guy is, awesome deal. But he ends up bringing a Tim McGraw signed guitar out of the back room somewhere. Dusty tells him that I'm a musician, and I end up playing this guitar signed by Tim McGraw for about 2 hours and having some cold adult beverages. And next thing I know, we wake up at 3:30 in the morning and drive 14.5 hours home. So here I am, 2 days into the work week after 10 days of fishing and an awesome trip. And I'm just now getting into the point where I'm actually back to life again. So you guys will be seeing those videos coming out soon. They're a lot more in depth, a lot more detailed. We ended up catching some fish, finding fish that were guarding fry at Caney Creek. Ended up catching them pretty well there. Dialed up the old cheater box, the forward-facing sonar, the LSV or LVS 34. Found them guarding fry, and Dusty and I could pretty much catch them any way we wanted at that point. But a couple of things. Again, I'd like to give a shout out to Hannah Sublett. Again, she's an insurance broker. I'll throw her name here on the screen really quickly. Because without her, would not be the ability to go on that trip. She almost single-handedly sponsored the entire trip for me and Dusty. So if you're looking for a health or life insurance, definitely check her out. And also, Strix Marine Plus. Again, Aaron got us hooked up with the Caney Creek Airbnb, but he also threw some cash out for the sponsorship for the trip too. So it makes it a lot, a lot better. It was an awesome trip. Can't wait to show you guys the videos. Aaron is having a tournament here coming soon. Let me find exactly when it is because it's a fundraiser for, I believe, his son Matthew's girlfriend. But it's an open, but it's a fundraiser tournament, 50% payback, I believe. We'll get that information for you. June 7th, 2025, 7-3, Wheelersburg Boat Ramp. Let me get some more information for you here. Maybe. $100 a boat. 7-3, 50% payback. They also have a raffle going on right now for a G-Loomis Interx Plus and a Shimano reel. $20 a tournament, or $20 a ticket, or I think you get 6 for $100, if I'm not mistaken. I did not, man. I never saw a single pro. Lake Fork is bigger than it looks on the map. It's really big. But again, please be mindful if you're going to Lake Fork in your own boat. Do not, and I repeat, and I'm trying to keep you guys safe, do not back your boat into the lake if you do not have a map card that shows the boat lanes. Now, the major boat lanes that are in the center of the lake are marked by these big, giant, white pylon buoys. As long as you stay on the right or left of those buoys out through there, within 20 feet of them, you're good to go. You can see those things for a while, but you'll see it, and it'll be in a big row, and then all of a sudden, one will jet out like 150 yards, and then it'll come back. Now, I wouldn't want to be the person running through those because I guarantee you there's trees and rocks and all kind of stuff in between there. That's the reason those boat lanes are there. So please take my advice. If you're going to fork in your own boat, be sure that you have a GPS map chip card that will show you the boat lanes. I will tell you that the Lake Master, I guess that would be the, I think it's the South Central Lake map card, has them on there, and they're really in detail. So I would definitely recommend that. They're $200 a piece, but what's a lower unit or a motor or your life cost?
Is it storming really bad where you're at? I keep looking out because it's like thundering and lightning like crazy. It's like super distracting. I'm like, squirrel.
Yeah, I just heard thunder here.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gary, I'm definitely going to come fish Pedro. We'll come out again. Just trying to get everything going on. Jared will be out of town this weekend, fishing the tournament down there at Douglas.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've never fished Douglas before, so if you guys have any suggestions,
I'm pretty sure Douglas and Cherokee both have a lot of stumps in them.
Stumps. I've kind of been reading up. I guess it's a lot more smallmouth at Douglas, which excites me because I love the smallies. But big lake, it's going to have a day to figure it out before the tournament. So,
also, Brian just sent me this message, and I was going to talk about it, but I forgot. The 4th annual Veteran and First Responder Bass Tournament is coming up June 14th, 2025. That's a Saturday. No forward-facing sonar. That includes 360. Trying to keep everything, I assume, even keel, even playing field. The deal is to get out there and have some fun. I will tell you, it's a $50 entry fee, and they paid out so much money last year, it was unbelievable. They also gave so much free stuff away to first responders and veterans and things. I encourage you to go out. JR, I have some very bad news for you.
what's that?
I'm going to be in Cincinnati that day. So you're going to have to find
June
Jared.
14th?
Huh?
June 14th.
June 14th, yeah. I'm going to see the Savannah Bananas play.
Oh, that'll be fun. Faith's on here. What'd she say? So Faith is she is the founder of Casting for Kids. So I guess there's not too many spots left. So if you guys are thinking about it, you better sign up. But and Faith's telling me to bid this time to get an earlier spot because I'm gonna
That's
have
right.
to. I'll have to find a good place to get them first. So we'll look out and see if we can find some good spots. That way I can get an earlier spot if I can.
Yeah, Tony, to your comment here, I am planning on coming to Falls again for sure. I don't know when it's going to be. It can't be in June, man. My schedule is so packed in June. It's crazy. Missy and I were talking about my schedule in June. It is absolutely absurd. It's nuts. But I'm thinking like September, maybe coming down for a long weekend. I'll be in school. But I got a buddy that lives or works and stays at a campground about, I don't know, 30 miles from Falls. So it allows me to hit Falls, Jordan, Heiko, Sharon Harris, all those places down there within a decent like hour drive, which is it's really good. So I have the opportunity to go down there pretty much anytime I want.
I get so weirded out every time I hear the name of that place. It sounds like that would be like my friend's aunt's name, Sharon Harris. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Lake St. Clair. It's going to be I don't know. It's going to be I want to go so bad. Probably not going to happen this weekend. But I'm going to go soon. JR is going up like the 18th or something.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so much right now that I want to do. And the older you get, the faster time goes. And I think I just stretch myself out too much. I want to drive to Illinois one day, camp, fish, catch a bass in Illinois. Right now, I'm over the hump. I've caught 26 bass in 26. Well, I've got way more bass than that, but I've caught bass in 26 different states right now. I'm looking at Illinois next. Probably going to do that sometime this summer. Drive over there, find a campground, spend a couple days there fishing. But we're already planning the trip for next year, and it may be next summer to make this happen. So if any of you guys are like really hardcore crazy fishermen and you'd like to tag along, bring your boat and some buddies, we're going to look at potentially knocking out 9 different states next year in the trip. And one of those, it's going to be a decent drive. Obviously, we're going to try to stay on state lines so we don't have to drive too far. But the 9 states we're looking to check off will be Illinois, if I don't check it off here soon, Illinois, Wisconsin, Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Iowa, and Kansas. There'll be 9 states there. It's going to be like a 14-day fishing trip, and it's going to be crazy. Braidwood Lake? Sweet, dude. That's awesome. Braidwood Lake in Illinois. Let me check that out.
I was looking at these Roman-made baits. I don't know what made me think about it. In the tournament, the day 2 of Casting for Kids, the guys that ended up catching a huge bag, 19 pounds at Painesville, were catching them all on glide baits. And have you looked and seen how impossible it is to find these the Roman made ones? Like you can get
on a negotiator.
Yeah, you can. I was thinking about what Zaldane said, and then you can buy these on Tackle Warehouse, but the colors are just like bright red, pink, and
I think the deal is that
lime green. So it's like, I guess you got to get it on eBay or something. I don't know.
yeah, they're really tough to get. Just get you a Roman May mother. They're only about $1,300.
Just drop $1,100, you know.
Speaking of baits, dude, we were looking up. Larry says Mill Creek Lake in Illinois too. Maybe I'll make it a couple-day trip. But we were fishing Lake Fork, and first off, I have this big giant pole. It's a lure retrieving pole that extends out. It telescopes out, and I always have it in my co-angler rod spot. And I looked up in this tree, and I saw this line coming down, and the line was just barely touching the water. And I was like, "What is that?" So I followed the line up, and I saw something that was stuck in a tree, and it was just a big dead tree. It's right in the middle of Lake Fork. I was like, "What is that?" And I got to looking around, and I was like, "That's a freaking swim bait." So I got that pole out, and it just barely reached. So this thing will extend out to like 20 feet. So this thing is like 19 feet in this tree. And somehow I hook the hook and I bring it down, and it is an 8-inch call shad that looks like it had never been thrown. Like the first cast, somebody threw this thing in a tree and broke it off. So I hook that thing and pull it down, and dude, like it is this freaking long. It's a giant.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's free, it's for me.
Hey, that's the place to throw it. Yeah, it's more of an eBay thing, I guess. That's all I can kind of glean from it. But I don't know. I did actually throw a glide some and stuff, but you know, hard to get confidence in throwing a big thing like that when around here everything's a 5-inch worm, something like that. But
yeah, we'll say caught a lot of fish. I was skeptical about, and here we are talking about forward-facing sonar baits, which you guys don't care about, neither do I. But I was skeptical about the Jackal drift fry catching fish. First off, there's a new Jackal drift fry. It's like version 2.0 or something. The tail is just a little bit different, but it has a bill on it, kind of like a crankbait, and it causes the bait to roll. And that's the big like buzzword right now: rolling FFS baits, or hover strolling baits, or what have you. Flat whacked the fish on that thing while I was gone. When it got tough, dial up the old cheater box and throw that on an 1/8 ounce, just a standard owner 1/8 inch or 1/8 ounce lead head, and I freaking caught the fire out of fish, man. It works great. Matter of fact, I caught several fish just reeling it very slow like a swim bait. It just rolls like this. I mean, if you just barely reel it, man, and it has some crazy action. Caught a lot of them. It's not just for forward-facing sonar. Worked great. Caught a lot of fish on a Berkeley D worm, which is basically like a shaky head worm, but I was Texas rigging it. If you go to Fork, black and blue Cincos buy you like a ton of them. They freaking flat whack those things. It catches the fire out of them. I had my boat as shallow as I've ever had it in my entire life, way up in this creek in Lake Fork, and found a massive amount of schooling or spawning fish. And I don't like catching fish off the bed, especially smallmouth or whatever. But I went back in this creek because everybody told me at Fork that all these females were still spawning, and they're seeing 10, 12, 14-pound bass on the nest. I personally think that was a little bit of an overshot because the water temperature was 75 to 77 degrees in some areas there at Fork. I don't think they're spawning in that area. I could be wrong. But got up in this big giant flat, found, an astronomical amount of males spawning in beds. And it was as simple because nobody else has been back there, I guess. I don't know what the deal was, but you could pitch a Cinco in their bed and catch every one of those fish. Like first cast, bam, they were on it, set the hook. I just got tired of catching them.
that's always fun.
Yeah, Tony, they're great baits, man. I feel like they're a little bit overpriced, like $13 a bag. I think there's only like 6 of them in there, but they do work. They do hold up fairly well. I do believe I caught a ton of fish on them. One of them got kind of chewed up. I just grabbed some super glue and super glued it to the head. Worked fine again, catching fish several times. Caught a lot of fish on a Missile Baits D-bomb at the Bull Shoals. Again, if I were to go and just choose a lake just to make a trip back to, the funnest lake we were at was definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, 10 Killer. So fun, dude. Like, you could catch them any way you wanted. We were throwing moving baits all day. If you got tired of throwing moving baits, you could pick up some kind of flipping and pitching set up, Texas rig, something like that. You could catch the fire out of them. We caught the gamut of smallmouth, spots, and largemouth there at 10 Killer. Found some offshore rock piles, ended up catching some fish there. Set the hook on a freaking like 20-pound freshwater drum or sheephead on a Type R. And when I get it in the boat, I have it in the net, and I, grab the hook, and I'm turning the hook out of the fish's mouth. The fish flops, breaks the split ring off my hook, takes the hook and all out of the boat. So I have a Type R in Rayburn Red that is it's broken at this point. I got to put another hook on it.
I'm sure you got a few of those laying around.
Oh yeah. I think one of the hardest things, maybe we'll do a show on it soon, is how to determine what size hooks are on baits. I don't know. Like, I guess you can get on their website and find out. But like, if I'm on the water, I don't know. Like, I can't just say, "Oh, that's a number 2," or "That's a 1-aught." It's just, I don't know. I guess it's just an acquired knowledge base.
Yeah, I always have to look them up. I've got a Fritz side, and I've got a jackal bait that have a broken treble on the front or back that I need to replace, and I always have to research the crap out of it to find the right one, because I don't want to, make them off balance, especially the jackal baits. They're all balanced so specifically.
I will tell you that I bought some. Mustad makes short shank, heavy duty hooks.
Mm-hmm.
And I was putting them on my 1.5s for a while, just for the simple fact that it made them dive an extra 1.5 feet deeper.
Yeah. A lot of people will take those like lead wire,
yeah,
wrap them around the trebles, or somewhere on the bottom of the bait to make it. I see a lot of people do that with glides and things like that, just to get a little bit deeper.
Jerk baits is another one they do that with, to get a jerk bait down.
Dots, things like that.
Suspend dots, in my opinion, I think they're kind of over the top because they don't stay on very well. Guys, it's been an interesting week. Again, if you guys hadn't had the opportunity to check out Bull Shoals, the episode that's out on YouTube right now, I released that at 8 or 9 o'clock this morning about the first episode of the trip. I think I'm going to slate these things to be released every Monday, I think. Unless they're just like, there's a couple of the days we didn't catch them that well. Like a Fork, we only caught 8 fish one day, and I mean, they were decent sized fish, but they're not going to be giant episodes. So I might release a couple of those in 1 week. But the next episode that you guys are going to see next Monday is going to be the second day at 10 Killer. And then the third day will be the one that you guys want to watch for sure. And that's the one where Dusty catches an 8.5 pounder. Absolute hammer of a bass.
And he's right in front of the camera. It's perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. JR sold him a rod, and he went and caught a 9 pounder on it.
Mm. I said, well, that's better fish than I've ever caught on that rod. So glad you got it.
Yeah. On a freaking 5-inch finesse worm. Crazy. It is all good. But guys, those of you guys traveling this weekend to the Casting for Kids at Douglas, be safe. Again, I'll have JR reach out to you, Tony. That way, maybe you guys get down there. You guys can meet up, have dinner or something. I don't know. I think JR's going to go down a couple days early, do some pre-fishing and things.
There's a pre-meeting too that I could definitely meet you at, Tony. I sent you a message there on Facebook too, so we can kind of connect and make sure that we're all getting our plans together.
Yes, sir. So we're about that 45-minute mark, guys. You know the routine. We're going to be live again next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. And we got some more stuff to talk about. I'm going to show you guys some clips and some highlights from the trip next week. But if you would, go out there and take a look at that first video that's out on YouTube right now. Bull Shoals, day 1 of the trip 2025. So we will see you guys around, and if you guys can, you know the routine, get out there and lean on them. We'll see you next time on Another Line.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of On Another Line Live. We truly appreciate your support, and we couldn't do it without all the amazing folks at home watching week after week. A big thank you goes out to our sponsors, who help make this show possible. Malone's Marine, Borders Sporting Goods, Solar Bat Sunglasses, Picasso Lures, Shimano, and Columbia Sportswear. Their partnership allows us to keep bringing you the content you love. We'll see you next time on Another Line. Until then, get out there and lean on them.